Hi, Happy New Year. I don't actually know when this video is going to be uploaded, but we'll just stick that in there anyway. Now that we're into the very first part of 2023, what better opportunity do we have to look back at the amazing manga that came out in 2022 and to go through some of my favorites. 2022 was the year that I read the most manga that I've ever read in my entire life, and I was introduced to some awesome new series. So today I'm going to talk about my top 5 physical releases in 2022 that I read. And I'm also going to chuck in some honorable mentions and some series that I haven't read, but you should definitely check out. Before we get into that, if you want to get some manga for yourself, then there's no better place than Right Stuff, Forbidden Planet, Blackwell's, or Book Depository, all of which are linked down in the description. If you're interested in any of the manga that I talk about today, or if you're just looking to buy any manga in general, you can use those links down below and it supports the channel a bunch at no extra cost to yourself. Let's get into the honorable mentions. So I have 3 honorable mentions for this year, and these are manga that I read, but they weren't released in 2022. And if you've been following the channel for a little while, you'll know what these are already. Number 1 is Berserk, because it's my favorite series of all time, and I read it in 2022. Number 2 is Chainsaw Man, which I think is just a phenomenal series that you should definitely pick up. I have a load of videos on that series already. And number 3 is Monster, which is the series that I just finished up and I really enjoyed. There will be a video on that soon. And now that's done, let's go into my number 5. And that's gonna have to be Record of Ragnarok. This series is a beat 'em up battle manga that involves a head-to-head between a famous human and a god. Humanity has been tasked with being able to battle gods in hand-to-hand and some weapons too, combat, in order to decide their fate, whether they're going to be wiped off the face of the earth or whether they get to survive for another 1,000 years. And whilst the narrative of the story is nothing special, the actual enjoyment I received out of reading this manga has been infinitesimal. It's a high-stakes, action-packed battle manga where you're just watching these units of people fighting each other. It has some really cool twists in how the fights themselves pan out, and the series boasts some really awesome art that fits the style of the story perfectly. I believe there are 4 volumes out so far. The series is still continuing. It's a really great read and I definitely recommend it. Number 4 is a series I've talked about quite a bit on the channel, Sakamoto Days. Sakamoto Days is a new Shonen Jump title that follows our main character, who is a retired assassin slash hitman. He was once the most dangerous person in the world, but now he works in a convenience store with his family because he's left that life behind him. However, just because he's left that life behind him doesn't mean that life isn't catching up to him. Throughout the story, we see him battling old foes and other hitmen and assassins in really interesting ways. Our main character doesn't kill anybody anymore, so he has to think up inventive ways to stop the people coming after him. And the series itself is a comedic style story with a lot of high-paced action that surrounds that main premise. It's a series as well that I've had a lot of enjoyment in the way that movement is portrayed throughout it. The mangaka does really well at tracking all of the fight scenes and making the action very easy to read, easy to follow, and really fun to consume. Sakamoto Days is also still serializing. There are 5 volumes out currently, and it is a series that I think is only going to get better with time. And I'm looking forward to seeing where the story goes with the base premise already solidified. Now we're going to come on to my number 3, and number 3, 2, and 1 are in very close contention because I think all of the series are absolutely amazing. But I went with Alice in Borderland as my number 3. Now I've read the first 2 volumes of this. There are 4 volumes out currently, but I have watched the entirety of the Netflix series, which had its 2nd and final season come out a couple of weeks ago. Alice in Borderland follows our main character Arasu, who has been transported to an alternate reality slash alternate time period. You're not 100% sure where he is, called the Borderland. And in the Borderland, Arasu and his friends have to fight to survive in death games. Each death game is assigned a card from a deck of cards, and the games themselves have different rules and different subject matter depending on what suit they are. Our main character Arasu is kind of a rundown guy. He's a bit of a failure at life, he's a gamer, and he's been transported to this world where he's key strengths are really shown, and his smartness and empathetic nature leads him through these games. It's awesome to see how him and his friends figure their ways out of the games, figure out how to beat them, because they're not always conventionally able to be beaten that easily. But the series itself is absolutely fantastic. It kind of has this psychological aspect, which is semi-hard to discuss without spoilers, but it kind of follows how people in the real world don't like their lives, and now they've been transported to this place called the Borderland. Maybe they're enjoying it there, even though there's present danger, but you kind of get to live how you want to live on the edge, and your real humanity is shown. This series is really, really, really freaking good, and you definitely should pick it up. And now for number 2. This one's probably going to come as a surprise to most people because I've ranted and raved about this series a lot throughout this year. And it might be a surprise that it's not my number 1 spot, but number 2 goes to Tokyo Revengers. I'll sum this up again, even though I've summed it up so many times on the channel so far. But Tokyo Revengers follows our main character who has somehow gained the ability to travel back in time to change the future. And after a tragic event befalls him and his friends, he decides to go back and change it as best he can. And the way to do that is to join a biker gang called the Tokyo Manji Gang. And by joining this, he's going to change it from the inside. This is a gang-based story following delinquent youth in Japan. It's got high action, there's a lot of gang violence and fights, but the main draw here is the character drama and the relationships between the main characters, especially the friendships between Takemichi, Mikey, and Draken. I've already read 3 volumes of this, which is 6 volumes total because they're 2-in-1 omnibuses, and every single time that a new volume comes through my door, I pick it up and read it immediately. I've really enjoyed the way the narrative is going. Takemichi tries to do his best and does what he thinks is right in the past, but it doesn't always play out how he wants it to in the future, and watching that slowly unfold has been really, really compelling. Tokyo Revengers is by far one of the best things that's released this year, and I definitely recommend it if you want a character-based drama. It's good. And finally, my number 1, which might come as a surprise to some people, it's Dandadan. Now, this was actually quite a hard decision for me to make because I've only read 1 volume of this series. The first volume, the introduction to this story, was so good that it gained my top spot. Dandadan follows 2 main characters that are forming this friendship / relationship due to the things they believe in. One of them believes in ghosts and spirits, and the other believes in aliens, and they challenge each other to prove the other wrong, basically, and in doing so, find out that they're both right. In this world, there are dangerous spirits, demons, devils, but also aliens from different planets that are coming down to enslave humanity. And through an interesting course of events, both of our main characters gain some sort of power, and they're going to use this to fight the aliens, the conspiracy theories, the fairy tale creatures that are going to be featured in this manga. If that premise hasn't drawn you in, then firstly, I don't know what you're interested in. Secondly, you should put that out the window because just read the first volume of this manga. I found it so compelling. Number 1, the subject matter was really interesting, something I hadn't seen before. And number 2, the actual interpersonal relationships between the 2 main characters has drawn me in infinitely more than a lot of manga that I've read, especially things that are renowned to have good characters. Now, I don't know if this is just because I'm kind of a shonen shill. I like these easygoing, easy to consume stories. The 2 main characters, I'm really enjoying their relationship so far. There are good emotional beats in this first manga. There's good plot twists in this first volume. The artwork looks absolutely awesome, and the powers themselves are interesting and refreshing. I really cannot praise Dandadan enough. The fact I've put it at number 1 on this list after reading 1 volume should speak an absolute tidal wave of praise for this series. I really freaking enjoyed it, and I cannot wait to read volume 2. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I bring you my top 5 for 2022. Before I go, I quickly want to jump in here and give 3 series that I would like to check out that I haven't done so yet that did release in in 2022. The first of which is Blue Lock, which is a football manga. Second of which is Akane Banashi, which is a slice of life drama series. And the third of which is Gachiakuta, which is a action series. All three of these are very well-renowned series from this year that have either released physically in the case of Blue Lock or released digitally in the case of Akane. And I really struggle to pronounce this one, Gachiakuta. So yeah, there you have it. My top 5 manga that released and I read in 2022. Please let me know down in the comments below what series you've been reading, or if you have any recommendations for series that came out this year. I'd love to see what your top 5s are and see if any of the series compare to mine. Don't forget that if you want to purchase any manga, please be sure to use the affiliate links down in the description. It helps me out a bunch because I get a small cut whenever you purchase something at no cost to yourselves, and all of that money has been going into making improvements to the channel. I'm currently saving for some new stuff, so any support is greatly appreciated. Also, we hit the YouTube Partner Program. We hit 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours, and I cannot thank you guys enough for supporting all the videos recently. It has been absolutely amazing. And on the topic of support, please be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell to be notified every single time that I upload. Thank you so much for watching and giving me your time today, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye bye.